Perry Peacock with Wilderness Innovation. Just answering a question. Is something that's all the rage that was all the rage back in the back in the 70s. You know, I had parkas, jackets, vests, everything that were in the same style of what we call puffy now. And you know, they're great, they're nice. I mean, it was the fashion. I'm not saying don't buy puffy jackets because they're cool looking. And they'll work fine for your activity. But some people are wondering, well, why don't you quilt your blankets and your Osney cloak and stuff like that? The reason why is we come from the position of really survival training. So we want to maximize the insulation that we have. So we've chosen insulative materials that are friendly moisture handling materials, able to be compressed very well and then puff back out. Our cover materials are a little more sturdy. We try to be somewhat light, but we're a little bit more looking to the side of durability. Our cover fabrics are a little bit tougher, a little thicker, have more durability to them. So when it comes to insulations, what you have to talk about is loft. Loft is what's important. So that's how much thickness you have between your body and, say, the outdoors. Be able to be contained within you and not radiated so much to the outdoors. So if we were to make our stuff puffy or something like that and stitch it up, and there's not a thing wrong with, having a puff jacket or puffy or whatever, no big deal. It's fine, it's the fashion, it's in style, and it's pretty good, It's good stuff. But when it comes down to surviving and you're really in a tough spot or whatever, you want to maintain all the heat you can inside next to your body. So you don't want to be sewing through the insulation. Everywhere you're stitching in this stuff, you're sewing through the insulation, and so there's not much of anything there in those spots where the sewing is. Now, most of this thing has puff to it. It's puffed up. It has loft. But in every area like this, wherever it's sewn through, you have virtually no insulation there. The problem, that can let heat from your body out. It can make it so you feel cold coming in. Now, you're never going to notice these little seams and stuff like this. When you're snowshoeing or skiing or hiking or walking or doing things, chopping wood. But when you sit down and it's cold outside and you're doing nothing, and at that point you've got to maintain everything you can inside of you, then that's when you start noticing the cold. You might feel a little chill in certain areas, or just kind of a general chill overall, because every so often we're sewn through. So now if I take a piece of this that's been sewn so it's puffy, and if I take and just slice through it like that, now look at what we have right here. So you see we have insulation, we have loft out through here, but where it's sewn through, we have very little. We have a little bit, but very little there. The important thing is how much do you need when you're more at rest, okay? When you're working, you can get by with a lot less. But when you stop working, when you stop doing activity, then you might need to depend on having that much loft that's right here to maintain your body warmth. Well, when you stop working and you have all these places like this down through the whole length of your garment or blanket or whatever, so it make it so it's colder than it would be. And see, even from here out to here, you're going from almost no loft, gradually coming up to full loft. So all this area here is deficient. So the insulations that we use are basically you could say they're monolithic. They're kind of like one big unit, one big piece. They can maintain that condition in the size that we're using. We don't have to quilt to keep the insulation from coming all apart and everything. Let's say we take this piece here, which is not quilted, not puffy, and we take and slice that up. Okay, so here's our insulation there versus there. So if you look at that, you see that the very same insulation, we're getting more loft out of ours because we don't quilt than those that are puffy. So from the survival standpoint, which is kind of our space, it's where we came from originally, teaching winter survival, we're leaning more towards maintaining all the loft that we can in the gear that we use. Maybe we're not fashionable, but it's okay for you to be. We're looking at trying to give the best warmth factors that we can by maintaining as much loft as possible. So regardless of what kind of insulation you're using, if you're losing loft because you're quilting like this, then you're lessening you're decreasing the amount of loft that you have, so you're going to wind up colder than you would be otherwise. It's just the way it is. So I'm not saying don't buy puffy jackets, because they're cool looking and they'll work fine for your activity. But if you spend a lot of time in the outdoors like I do and like a lot of people do, you want to have something that keep as much body heat as you can. It's going to have as much loft as you can maintain, so that you maintain as much warmth as you can get. I mean, there's no debate about it. You can see it right there. So that's my 2 bits. That's why we do what we do. And, we're not joining the trend or whatever. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. Do what you want to do. But if you really get into a situation where you really depend on all the loft that you can, then you want to have stuff that's not quilted through, that's not sewn through.